Imagine being lost in the middle of nowhere, trapped on an empty road deep in the forest with no signal, no way to call for help, and a storm closing in. The rain beats against your windshield, the fog thickens, and soon, you can't see more than a few feet ahead. But then, something moves. At first you tell yourself it's nothing. A trick of the mist. A shadow cast by the trees. But as the fog swirls and shifts, you realize something is out there. Watching. Waiting. Tonight's story takes you into that eerie, suffocating moment. A lone traveler, a forgotten road, and an encounter with something that shouldn't exist. So settle in, let the rain surround you, and listen carefully, because once you enter the fog, you may never leave. Fourth tale. The Thing in the Fog. The storm rolled in faster than expected, trapping Eric on the winding forest road. He had planned to reach the next town before nightfall, but the rain had turned the dirt path into a slick, muddy mess. His truck struggled against the terrain, tires skidding as dense fog crept in, swallowing the trees on either side. With no signal on his phone and visibility down to almost nothing, Eric had no choice but to stop. He pulled over to the side of the road, his headlights barely piercing the thick mist that curled around the truck like ghostly tendrils. And then, a shadow moved. At first, he thought it was a trick of the fog. But then he saw it again. A figure, just beyond the reach of his headlights, too tall, too thin. It stood motionless, its form barely visible through the shifting mist. Eric's pulse quickened. He locked the doors, telling himself it was just a tree, a warped illusion created by the rain and fog. But when he looked again, the figure had moved closer. His breath hitched, a single footstep echoed outside. Then another. The thing wasn't walking. It was gliding. The fog parted around it, revealing long, unnatural limbs, fingers stretching far beyond what was humanly possible. Eric fumbled with his keys, heart pounding as he turned the ignition. The truck sputtered, refusing to start. The figure was closer, now its face, if it had one, obscured by the shadows. And then it whispered his name. Eric's blood ran cold. He had never told anyone he was taking this road tonight. No one knew he was here. The truck roared to life just as a clawed hand slammed against the window, leaving behind a smear of something dark, something wrong. Eric floored the gas pedal, tires spinning wildly before catching traction. The figure didn't move. It simply stood there, watching as the truck tore down the road. By the time he reached the next town, the fog had disappeared. The road behind him looked empty, as if nothing had ever been there. But as Eric stepped out of the truck, his stomach twisted. His side mirror was missing, ripped clean off. And on the windshield, written in smeared, blackened streaks, were two words. Drive faster. Sleep well, if you can.